Hi, good evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode or series of the Tobago Civil Net. Today, I'll be joined by a very dynamic cast of young persons in our topic discussion: too young to think, not too young to vote, not too young to think. You see, I was just making sure everybody on the panel was ready. I see Safia is smiling, so that's good. Julie looks like she really just said that. So it's good that we're getting the nervous energy out of there. For some persons, this may be your first time, and I invite you to be very active and engaged in the discussion, even though I may have done this a lot. The first couple minutes always have the jitters. So we're just gonna give persons like 2 minutes to jump in on the live, but we're inviting everyone to ensure that they like, follow, and share Tobago Civil Net. Tobago Civil Net is a non-partisan group of Tobago civil society organizations, and they are concerned citizens all combining forces for the purpose of having collective input on Tobago's development. And this body includes representation for education, agriculture, and the environment, youth development, arts and culture, tourism, and the business sector. So it's a very comprehensive group of persons from across the island of Tobago, all attempting to seek the best interests of Tobago. And our mantra being Harambe, let's all pull together, really talks about that collective identity and that coming together for the bigger purpose, where the whole is sometimes greater than the sum of its parts, where once we come together and we're able to all put in the work and the effort, we will be able to achieve great things. Now, our key partners include Youth Votes Matter, Tobago Writers Guild, Tobago Entrepreneurs, Tobago Literacy Support, and Environment Tobago. And if you're interested in becoming a partner, you could shoot us a message on Facebook. The number would be made available throughout this webinar series. So if you have a pen, we're in the era of technology. If you want to rewind later when you're watching it to make notes, because I can tell you, I have read the bios of these young persons on the panel and I am very impressed. So they are going to be coming with the heat in terms of this discussion. They're going to be coming with their knowledge. And remember, it's too young to vote, not too young to think. So trust and believe the young persons are going to bring in their ideas, their perspective about various issues in terms of where we are in the political climate, or what it is to be a young person in general and not being able to vote, but having these decisions affect you as well. So I'm going to take this time to introduce our dynamic group of primary school students. Yes, our panel today consists of primary school students, and I am so excited for you to meet them and hear their thoughts on this matter. Like, the excitement for me is cup running over right now. So our first panelist is Miss Sophia Morris, and she was born on the 13th of May 2009 in Ohio, in USA. And she attends the Scarborough Methodist Primary School. She's in Standard 5. And she hosted season 3 of First Mic, the open mic series for children ages 7 to 14, promoted by the Tobago Writers Guild and the Tobago Library Services. In her quiet time, she enjoys a lot of reading. Welcome, Safia, and we're so happy to have you here. So you could wave the audience if you like. Next, we have Jolie St. John, and she's also a Standard 5 student at the Scarborough Methodist Primary School. She possesses many interesting attributes that were recognized by her parents at an early age: curiosity, eagerness, determination, strong will, and vocal leadership are just a few innate qualities that grew stronger as age brought wisdom and reasoning. Her daily pursuit is to connect with the Almighty whilst building a closer relationship with God. Jolie questionably observes life in an attempt to understand and grasp with changes as they arise. Filled with enthusiasm and the drive to challenge herself, Jolie often displays a positive, responsible attitude. She's always interested in acquiring knowledge and building her independent life coping skill set. Thank you for joining us, Jolie. We are all very excited to have you share your thoughts with us. Next on the panel, we have Miss Lavia Roberts. And Lavia is also a Standard 5 student, but she attends the Signal Hill Government Primary School. She is 11 years old, and she enjoys playing football and dancing while watching many YouTube and TikTok videos. She would like to be a teacher when she grows up. So you see, we have a dynamic skill set already, and we are not finished with the panel. We have, last but not least, Mr. Coyote Shipley. And this dynamic 10-year-old is a standard 4 student of the Lambu Anglican Primary School. His involvements include choir, football as the goalkeeper of the team, the PRO of the 4-H club, scouts, and a member of the drumming team. Coyote, championed the International Boys' Day observant at his school on May 16, 2019. He also partnered with the Gentle Giants Foundation of Tobago with the Ribbons of Hope. Did you know HIV/AIDS campaign 2019? He started an HPV campaign with the intentions of educating children on the importance of getting their HPV vaccines. And he also participated in the production of the Imani Bet Knesset Foundation HIV/AIDS 2020 World AIDS Day Awareness Campaign. Coyote was also a panelist with the Children's Authority live Facebook stream 2 weeks ago in celebration of World Children's Day. He's an avid footballer and loves basketball and tennis as well. He aspires to be a professional footballer one day. Now, persons, if you are not impressed by the short, and this is a short biography of the different skill sets, activities that these young persons are involved in, I mean, I am mind blown, really and truly. I remember being their age and also being involved, so it really warms my heart to see young persons still keeping with that level of activism and advocacy throughout different spaces, and also being well-rounded students. We not only hear of their academic scholarship in terms of being in school, but they are also balancing youth work in terms of activism and being in different clubs, being a part of sports. And I really appreciate you all taking the time to be here with me this afternoon and with the Tobago Civil Net and all our partners and all our viewers. So again, I'm inviting persons to like, share, follow Tobago Civil Net, share our live stream, because we are about to get into a hearty and very healthy discussion this evening. And I don't want you or any of the persons on your Facebook page to miss even a second of it. But of course, if they can't see it right now, we will have the video up available after. So be sure to tune in when you can. So good evening again to my lovely panel. I'm so excited to have you here. So let's start off. I see Sophia giving me a look. So we'll start with Sophia. So Sophia, what does politics mean to you? When you think about politics, what does it mean to you? Because it happens in different spaces, and a lot of the time, persons just see politics as what happens around election time. But politics on a whole really deals with how you manage, how you govern groups, organization, clubs in a school setting. So what does it mean to you?
I think politics mean to me is when ministers and representatives are going a first foot to address people's interests.
Okay, that's great. And you really looked at some important points in terms of addressing persons and representation. So Lavia, what does politics mean to you?
Politics means when people come together to decide who's going to be the one that helping the country.
Okay. And you see, people, we already have the ball rolling and we're listening for the key terms. We have representation, addressing issues, coming together. Coyote, what does politics mean to you?
Politics means to me a process of how to manage or control the country.
See, and we have those words coming in. So we have representation, addressing issues, coming together, balance. And I think balance is extremely important when you think about politics because it's a lot about management, and that's another word. So, Jolie, bring us home. What does politics mean to you?
Politics to me is mainly when persons come together to form different groups. They compete against each other to lead, whether it may be a company, an organization, or maybe a government. So they come together to vie for the leadership of that particular group. And they also, when they get into office, they may address certain issues, change certain things.
And thank you, Jolie. And you really brought us home in terms of the word list today when we think about politics. So we're going from the top. Safia spoke about representation, addressing issues. Lavia gave us that whole idea of coming together. You see, representation is a key thing that underscores all the definitions that our panelists have given thus far. We have Coyote talking about that balance and that management, and Jolie really highlighting leadership as an essential characteristic of what politics is. And Jolie, I'm going to stay with you because the next question I want to ask is, what do you think it means to elect a politician to office?
Electing a politician into office is when, like, let's say if it's an island, probably the villagers or the citizens, they vote or choose whoever they would like to lead that particular group, whether it's a government or a company. So it's when the persons choose who they would like to lead, who they would like to be in control. And after the person is elected, they are appointed and then sworn in by taking an oath of office.
Okay, great. And we hear that whole idea of persons choosing. Coyote, do you have anything to add? Can anyone on the panel tell me that whole idea of persons choosing what type of leadership they want? What is the name of that? Does anyone know? You don't have to answer. I'll give the answer at the end if you all don't know. But Coyote, do you have anything to add in terms of what does it mean to elect a politician to office?
Yes, to elect a politician to office to me means we have someone to actually lead that group or that community to better or to a nice or greater lifestyle.
Okay. Sophia, what does it mean to elect a politician to office?
It means to elect a politician to office is to like guide people to like address our needs and wants.
Okay, and we have the words coming in. We have guidance. It's a process where we guide people into addressing our needs. And Lavia, what does it mean, or what do you think it means to elect a politician to office?
I think to elect a politician means to get somebody to help around with the country and see about people's needs.
Thank you. And I think what our viewers are getting is that we work with the people, or the people more so help the politicians to help them. And I think the process that each person really spoke about in that whole idea of choosing is democracy, where we have the say in terms of who leads us through the voting process when persons put themselves forth for that whole idea of becoming a politician or someone in public office. So, Lavia, can you give me two characteristics or two traits that you think a good politician has? Whether it be, for example, I think a good politician is a good people person or a good communicator. What are two traits you think every politician must have in order to be the best person to do the job?
A good leadership, a good
Mm-hmm.
leader,
Mm-hmm.
and somebody who likes to communicate with people.
Okay, thank you. Sophia, what are two traits or characteristics that you think every politician should have? So we already have good listener and leadership skills.
I think honesty and communication.
Honesty and communication, and we have that whole idea of communication being extremely important for a politician thus far. Jolie?
A good politician must be accountable for their action and they must also be flexible.
Accountability and flexibility, excellent traits to have as an individual, but more so as someone in political office. And Coyote, what are two traits that you think are essential for a politician to have?
Two traits I think that are essential for a politician to have are one, leadership, as Lavia said, and two, to listen also, as Lavia said, because if they can't listen to the people and what the people want or what the people have to get, the people can't be happy.
So Jolie, we're back to you. Do you think that the decisions that persons in public office make affect young persons like yourself?
Definitely, every decision affects everybody. Let's say, for example, the Minister of Education decides to do something. The education system mainly involves young people, so obviously we would be affected in that aspect. And for finances, also another example, let's say in terms of the budget, if prices are raised or decreased, we may have teenagers who are working and have to manage their money. So their personal budget would have to shift around also. So every decision affects young people, and to expand, every decision affects everyone.
Thank you, Jolie. Lavia, what are your thoughts? Do you think the decisions made by person in public office affect young persons like yourself?
Yes, I think it does affect you persons.
Safia, would you like to jump in and share your views?
Yes, because sports in terms we need like more sport facilities.
Mm-hmm. And Coyote, what are your thoughts on the issue?
Just like how a family or a home, when the
Mm-hmm.
parents make a decision in the house, it affects everyone in the house.
Mm-hmm.
Or say someone is coming to the house as a guest, they have to move rooms. So just is the same way as the government has to make decisions and will affect everyone else to change what they were doing before.
Okay, and while we're still with you, do you think that young persons like yourself are given the opportunity to contribute to the discussion in terms of what happens when politicians are elected? Or, for example, are young persons involved enough to have their needs addressed when persons are in public office? Because I know when we spoke about what politics is and what it means to be a politician, we spoke a lot about addressing the issues of persons. So do you feel as if the issues that young people like yourself experience are addressed by politicians? Coyote.
Can you repeat, please?
Do you feel as if the issues that young persons like yourself, for example, Jolie mentioned that if the government makes a decision on education, it would affect young persons. Do you think that you all are involved or consulted or spoken to enough to have your views on the situation taken into consideration?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Jolie?
My answer for that question would have to be no, because there is a rule that because we are minors, we don't have certain authority, so we won't be able to like get our input and stuff. And there's certain aspects of the government that we need to be included in, which we are not. And thankfully for these systems like these, and I'm hoping to see more of them, we are able to be included in some kind of way. And it's a very good initiative and we should continue it. But as of now, we are not included enough. And our opinion matters, especially in systems like education. We need to be involved.
Thank you, Jolie. Sophia?
No, because if we are included, we can say the problems that are affecting young people like myself.
Okay. And Lavia?
No, not necessarily, because minors are usually engaged, not engaged in any of these.
Okay, thank you so much. And for those of you, we're having some technical difficulties with Lavia. She's a bit in and out, but I do hope that you were able to hear what she just said. She said no, because young minors aren't normally involved in that aspect of the process. So to those of you now tuning in, today our topic is too young to vote, not too young to think. And we have a very dynamic panelist of young persons. We have Mr. Coyote Shipley, we have Miss Jolie St. John, Miss Safia Morris, I hope I got that right, and Miss Lavia Roberts. And we're just reminding you to ensure that you like, share, and follow Tobago Civil Net. We are a non-partisan group of Tobago civil society organizations concerned with citizens all combining forces for the purpose of having collective input on Tobago's development. And the Tobago CivilNet extends an invitation to all persons and organizations interested in lending their voices to these discussions. Please feel free to contact us at tobagocivilnet@gmail.com or at 487-9722. And you could follow us at Tobago Civil Net on Facebook. Now, Safia, do you think that all children must have equal access to education, and why?
Yes, because like when we grow up, we will be seeing opportunities like jobs, and the education that was in the past will help us get like opportunities and jobs.
Thank you, Safia. Lavia, do you think that all children must have equal access to education, and why?
Yes, I think children must have all access to equal education, because when we grow up, we will want a job, and with that education, we could be able to get.
Coyote, what do you think? Should all children have equal access to education, and why?
Yes, I do think all children should have equal access to education because we just had World Children's Day some weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, I'm sorry, and one of the rights are to equal education. Not only that, as everyone else said, as you get older and you find jobs, you need education to help you with your job.
Thank you, Coyote. And we see a lot of our panelists are talking about the progression in terms of one state of learning into another. So, as Safia would have pointed out, the information that you learned in the past from school will help you, as Lavia pointed out, when you're looking for a job, and also underscored by Coyote, it is one of the rights of a child to have access to education. Jolie, what do you think?
This is definitely a necessity. It is definitely a must because, in our society, everything has to be equal. And as Coyote mentioned already, education is a right to children, and it spans from a household to a village to a community. We can different communities. One community has electricity and children are able to get onto school online, and another community does not have electricity. So it has to be equal because there are students that may have physical disabilities and some students may not have the necessities that they should have to be able to access education. So we definitely should be working hard to ensure that each student in this country and by extension the world has equal access to education.
Thank you. And I would just like to thank all our panelists for highlighting at this point in time the importance of having access to education and equal access for all children. And as Jolie would have pointed out, not only in Tobago or in Trinidad and Tobago, but across the world, this is something that we have to continue to work on. And I feel as if Jolie may be familiar with the Sustainable Development Goal SDG 4, which works on quality education. And if not, it's something that she can look into, which is something that across the world persons are using as a guide and aligning a lot of their work towards in terms of ensuring that children and persons have that access and that opportunity to seek education and have that experience. So, Lavia, let's change the direction a little bit. Let's think education, yes, but let's also think about another aspect of what Tobago deals with. Let's think tourism. Should schools teach other classes like tourism or how the government runs? What do you think, Lavia?
I think they should.
Mm-hmm. Sophia?
Yes, because we should know how to like speak to tourists
Mm-hmm.
and like fluently as well.
Thank you. And Sophia really hints to that whole idea of hospitality, which is something that is actually a degree that persons study. And I think it's something that persons should learn from as young as possible so that we are able to boost and really embody what it means to be this loving Caribbean island that has that excellent customer service and is so people oriented that you don't ever want to leave Tobago, because why would you want to leave paradise? Jolie, what do you think? Should schools teach other classes like tourism or how the government runs?
It should definitely be included because, as Sophia said, it helps us to be more hospitable. And tourism is a broad aspect. It also includes maybe us learning other languages so we can communicate with tourists that speak different languages. It also helps us to get certain character traits because in order to be hospitable, we have to have certain character traits. It also helps us to learn about our country and make more responsible decisions in the future.
Thank you so much. And Coyote, what do you think? Should schools teach other classes like tourism?
Yes, I think schools should teach other classes about tourism and how the government runs.
Mm-hmm.
Also, because of tourism, our country, well, I shouldn't say our country, Tobago is an island for tourists.
Mm-hmm.
It has tourism everywhere you look. Everywhere you look, you see tourism. So I really think they should teach tourism in school.
All right, Coyote. And before we go into a different aspect of today's discussion, and you said everywhere you look in Tobago, you see tourism. So, what is your favorite thing or place or aspect of Tobago?
My favorite place or aspect of Tobago
Mm-hmm.
is to know that I live in Bagatelle, in
Mm-hmm.
Paula Hall, and
Mm-hmm.
I know every time I feel I want to know, I'm feeling bored. I want to do some tour around Tobago. Even though I live in Tobago, I could always go to Mount St. George. No, not Mount St. George. I'm sorry. Fort King George. Fort
Okay.
King George. I could also go at other forts, like, for example, hmm, where? Okay. I'm not getting any other examples right now, but yeah, like Fort King George.
Okay. We also have Fort Granby, which is one of the not so popular ones. We have Fort Bennett, Fort James, as well as, we have some things here. So for sure, you can pull up your map for the persons who have not visited Fort King George yet. I know we are observing the COVID-19 restrictions and regulations that the Minister of Health has advised, but you could always Google it. You can look for pictures. You could check out one of the lovely I Love Tobago pages. They have a lot of content on the different aspects of Tobago. If you're ever feeling bored or you're thinking about your next travel plans, there are a lot of hidden gems in Tobago to still be discovered. Jolie, what is your favorite aspect of Tobago?
In terms of the environment, it would have to be the beach, but in terms of festivals, it would definitely be the Tobago Heritage Festival. I am in tune to that every year. I would always pay attention and ensure that I go to at least two of the shows. It's very interesting and you get to learn about the heritage of Tobago, all the different folklores and things like that.
All right, Jolie, and because you went deep into this aspect of it, I must ask, one, what is your favorite beach? Two, which two festivals are a must go for Tobago Heritage Festival? And three, have you ever danced the coco?
I actually have. I have danced the Coco twice. I went on a heritage tour and we did it twice. My favorite beach would probably be Buku Beach.
Ooh, nice.
Mm.
Sophia, what is your favorite aspect or your favorite thing about Tobago?
My favorite thing about Tobago is the scenery because, for example, I live in Mason Hall and it is very close to the rainfall.
Nice. And yes, Tobago has some extremely scenic views and places. Sometimes it really is breathtaking when you stop. A lot of the times we don't stop because we're busy with everything that we have to do in life. But when we really stop, it really takes your breath away. The sunrise, the simple mountain range view, which I could cry talking about Tobago. I really can. Lavia, what is your favorite thing about Tobago?
My favorite thing about Tobago is Tobago race and Tobago crab race.
Mm-hmm. I think Lavia really has something going there with the races. I mean, I have friends that do the goat race, like they train for it every year. Hopefully, they never ask me to join their team because although I could run, I think it's a different level of discipline and a different type of strength training to be able to run crab race and goat race. It's a skill. I'm not sure if I'm gonna unlock it eventually, but I do really appreciate the work that they do when they go out and they embrace our culture and heritage like that. So, persons, if you haven't done it already, ensure that you like, share, follow Tobago Civil Net. Today's topic is too young to vote, not too young to think. And we have a very dynamic, talented panel filled with a lot of knowledge and expertise. To the age, I am mind blown right now. They've just shared with us some of their favorite things about Tobago. We have the beach. Buckle Beach is a fave apparently. So persons, if you are going to try Jolie's favorite, remember to practice your COVID-19 safety regulations. If you're going to look for a video of the Buku festivities, the goat and crab racing, please share, tag us so that we could also share in on the vibe and the energy, start a watch party. You never know. Coyote went back to the historical aspect of it where we're thinking forts, we're thinking culture, history, and for those of us who may have that interest in terms of our downtime, be sure to check out one of his favorites, Fort King George. And for sure, Sophia spoke about that scenic view. So you never know. You're taking photos of Tobago just for fun and you could win a photography competition. It's really a lot when you take the time to really embrace and enjoy a lot of what we have to offer here. So we're going to jump back into the conversation. Coyote, do you think that a lot of emphasis is placed in the education system to develop the character of the students?
Yes, I do think a lot of emphasis is put in place for the character of students.
Mm-hmm. And could you give us an example of something that is done to help with that character development in schools?
Uh, Maybe space. A lot of children in my school
Mm-hmm.
complain to teachers that we are doing our tests. Well, before this coronavirus started, we are doing our tests in our class, and class above, some classes above us, like standard 5, are making noise, and we could hear them while we are doing our test.
Mm-hmm.
So I think space and, let's see, space and more space, more of a community for the school, uh, and also taking care of some children sometimes while in school
Mm-hmm.
is to also make sure that some children are spatial, they're to
Mm-hmm.
themselves. They don't think of going out to talk to some children sometimes. They just think, I want to stay by myself, I want to be quiet, so to make sure they're not feeling lonely
Mm-hmm.
in
Yes.
school.
Thank you, Coyote. And Coyote really gave us the examples of school fostering that whole idea of developing your social skills when he spoke about space and checking up on your colleague and making sure they're not feeling lonely, but also space in terms of that whole idea of community. When you are aware of there are other things happening within your space, you're more mindful to be respectful that somebody's doing a test, so I may need to be a bit quieter and I may need to be a bit more mindful of how I interact within that same space. Now, for me, and this is something I only realized when I was like big, and I'm not that old, right? So I'm really not that old. But you see, lining up in school, it's something that we do not appreciate at all. Like we used to dread it in primary school and high school. You see, lining up, it was very stressful because you're in the line and it's like, why I have to line up? Why doing this? Where's the purpose of this? No, when everything in the society revolves around you wearing a mask and lining up, it really goes back to now you're saying, but why nobody can line up straight? And it's very frustrating because when we were in primary school and when we were in high school, your lines had to be straight. And if your line's not straight, you're not moving. And like we used to try to find ways to beat the system so we could get out of the lining up process. But now it's like, how you so big and you in the bank and the line bend and you so frustrated, like I am stressed leaving home and not seeing a straight line outside of a building. Like it stresses me out. And more so, like in high school we had this thing where if you're using the staircase or you're walking down a corridor, you would walk on the left side always. When I was in university, I could not understand why people were not following this. It was very stressful. So like a lot of the things that we do in school, we don't realize how important it is in the process, in the moment, but it really does contribute to, as Coyote says, one, your social skills, your understanding of spatial reasoning. Socially, do you think that enough emphasis is placed in the education system on developing those character traits in young persons?
Emphasis is placed, but to me, not enough because we have, there's a subject VCCE or moral values, as some people know it in modern days, where it teaches us different character traits, how to be respectful, honest, kind, and it has been implied, but more emphasis needs to be placed on it, especially in our society today. There is information out there and we need to know how to handle it properly. But there are some teachers that go out of their way to ensure that their students know things and
Mm-hmm.
their students are mindful of how you are supposed to act towards particular persons. And
Mm-hmm.
especially in Trinidad and Tobago, it is key because we are a multicultural societies. There are different ethnic groups, there are different races, so we need to learn to respect each other as though we are one human race because we are one human race.
Thank you, Jolie. And Jolie really underscores that whole idea of school being a microcosm of the wider society. So we have different multicultural and ethnic groups coming together, and this is where we really start embodying the whole idea of discipline, tolerance, and production. Because that's where respect, as she highlighted, comes in, and you have to know how to respect your colleagues, how to be mindful of your differences, and actually appreciate the differences that people come into this space with. Sophia?
No, because as Julie said, not much emphasis is placed.
Mm-hmm.
As we like in my, for example, in my school, in the
Mm-hmm.
classes, it's very humid, and it
Mm-hmm.
needs to have like more fans. Or I know our government does not have enough money, but I just think it needs to have more facilities and more like ACs, for example, or anything.
Thank you so much, Safia. And Safia really highlights how infrastructure really contributes to that whole idea of developing those characteristics in students. Because in psychology, they teach us that the environment that persons are in really helps them to develop certain types of characteristics, certain types of behaviors. So it's really important that when we look at how these things are being implemented, we take into consideration the environment in which they are when this is happening. So, Laville, do you think that enough emphasis is being placed on developing character traits in young persons in school?
I think enough is placed.
Mm-hmm.
At school, it's very good to learn. So yeah.
Thank you. And I think one thing to know, we kind of have this debate about whether or not we're spoon feeding our students in terms of do we always tell them every time what exactly this activity is supposed to teach them. So it really also talks about students taking the initiative sometimes during the different activities to see beyond it. So with the whole experience with me not appreciating lines until I began, oh, like, no. I mean, sometimes we don't necessarily see the value of things until we're outside of the system. But I encourage you to really take the lesson in everything. I know school is online now, so you all aren't really lining up. But something as simple as an assembly, it really goes a long way in terms of developing your oral and communication skills, your listening, because I know a lot of you spoke about the importance of listening. And if you're gonna be in different spaces, teaching, I know somebody mentioned teaching, whatever job profession, being a good listener really does help you achieve a lot of your goals. So, what do you think about the meals that they serve in school? I'm looking to see who giving me a facial reaction to call. Yes, Sophia. I love Sophia's facial reactions. It's one of my favorite things on this webinar. Sophia, what do you think about the meals that they serve in school?
Well,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's nice that they are giving children food. Like
Mm-hmm.
sometimes their parents don't like cook food for them to come to school, so I think that's nice. But like for example, in my school they feed sometimes pizza, and it's very oily
Mm-hmm.
and it's unhealthy as well.
So, what do you think we can do, or what would you recommend that they do in terms of anybody who is in the nutrition system listening right now? They're hearing you. So, this is your opportunity. Give a recommendation. If you're gonna substitute pizza, which is like a fun food because everybody loves when pizza comes to school feeding or grub as we used to call it, what would you change pizza to?
Um, well, they don't have like enough vegetables. Even though I don't like vegetables, I think they should have more vegetables. and cut down on the oil,
Most importantly,
and like provide us like a bottle of water,
bottle
because
of water.
yes, because some
Okay.
students like don't have anything to like drink.
Oh, that's a very good recommendation. Thank you, Safia. I think we take for granted sometimes water as a necessity because sometimes we think like, students could just drink from the pipe in school, or we think that schools have water fountain. But if we're cutting down on juice in schools and we want this whole eco-friendly, fresh juice, no preservatives kind of vibe, I think water is always a safe bet. Coyote, what do you think? What are your thoughts about the meals that they serve in school?
I am disappointed
Mm,
at the meals
why
that
is
they
that?
serve at my school. They are
Mm-hmm,
non-nutritious.
mm-hmm,
They don't bring bottled water for us. They don't bring juice at all. Pizza is as very oily, very,
mm-hmm,
very oily. They bring fries and chicken,
mm-hmm.
hardly any vegetables, no fruits at all. I am disappointed.
So Coyote, as I asked Sophia, you have the opportunity now. Somebody's listening. You never know. This could be one of the turning points where next semester, if we are out in school, there may be some minor adjustments. What would you like to see? Because this is very rare that persons are kind of not happy with the fact that they're getting pizza and fried chicken. For young people, it tends to be a favorite food. But I guess it's the oil for Sophia and it's the lack of vegetables for Coyote. So what would you recommend?
Uh, I'm not saying that fries and chicken is something I don't like, but it's
Mm-hmm,
too oily.
mm-hmm,
I would say cut down on oil,
mm-hmm,
bring more fruits, bring more
mm-hmm.
vegetables, bring less fatty food, bring more nutritious and healthy food.
And what is an example of a nutritious and healthy food that you would like to see that isn't on the menu?
Maybe sometimes salad, or maybe as well, let's see, salad or rice, peas, beans. Yeah,
Okay, thank you, Coyote. Jolie, what are your thoughts about the meals that they serve in school?
Well, I actually don't take school feeding, but based on the feedback and observations from my other colleagues and classmates, it's, as we say in Tobago, it's a hit and miss. Some the food tastes quite good, well, based on feedback from others. Some days the food is quite good, other days it's not really that tasty. It's not so much of a delicate. But one good thing in the school feeding system that they did, they cut out bringing us box juices. And the box juices before, they were very acid and it was not healthy at all. But it's a hit and miss. Some days, there are vegetables. Some days there are unhealthy foods. Like Coyote and Safia said, the pizza is very oily. So there are things that they need to increase and some things that they need to decrease.
And thank you, Jolie, for sharing that with us. Even though you don't partake in the school feeding system, you have used your observation skills to provide a very meaningful contribution. So our
Um,
panelists are talking about, you wanted to add something?
yeah, I'm so sorry to butt in, but I also want to, it's not only what the nutrition program brings, also what they sell in the canteen.
Mm-hmm.
If it's serious, it's also very unhealthy. They sell snacks with high levels of salt, high levels of sugar. They also sell oily pizzas. Although they taste good, it's very unhealthy. And I think in every aspect, when it comes to food and nutrition, they should include like nutritious fruits and stuff like that.
Okay, thank you so much. And I really appreciate you coming back to adding that additional aspect of the whole food being served in schools because it's something that we also need to take into consideration when we think about the nutrition that we offer our students across the board, both in the school and from the government assisted programs. And Lavia, we're going to come to you. What do you think about the meals that they serve in school?
Food that they serve in school, I don't really like it
Mm-hmm.
because, for example, in my school, I bring fried chicken and in it has something. which was not food or any seasoning, which I found disgusting. So they could at least change the menu a little bit.
Okay. Thank you, Lavia. And our panelists are really advocating at this point in time for healthier eating options in both the grub school feeding as well as within their various canteen systems. And we see students asking about water instead of the juice options, as well as the inclusion of fresh fruits as part of what is being offered. And I think it's very progressive that students are thinking about snacks and eating in a more health conscious way. So, another question, Coyote. Should there be separate all boys and all girls schools, or do you like the mix of boys and girls in the same school?
I like the mix of boys and girls in the same school because while you're in school and you're learning how to, treat a girl properly or, talk to girls properly, there are some girls that are moody. So if you don't know how to interact with them, when you get older and you have to interact with them no matter what, you will be like, why does some girls like this but don't like this? Or why does some girls hate both things or, they have their way. So that's why I think mixed schools are best options.
Thank you, Coyote. And Coyote really goes back to that whole social skill development aspect where you learn how to communicate with people and you learn to read people based on the exposure and your experiences with them. So I hope that in the future we hear Coyote bringing out a thesis on the importance of mixed schools and its contribution towards the development of social skills. Jolie, what are your thoughts?
For this matter, I am sure because there are pros and cons for both mixed schools and separated schools. Because in terms of the separated schools, one of the pros is that when it comes to like sexual education, you have that one-on-one with the genders instead of mixed, and have to separate them. It's a lot of stress because also what information to give to which type of students and stuff like that. But also it decreases from the social aspect of life. We are not able to socialize with the other gender, and when later on in life, when it is time to socialize and the time is really tough and you don't have parents or teachers to go and complain to and give you advice, it's going to be very difficult because you did not have that exposure. But also in mixed schools, a few pros, as Coyote mentioned, the social aspect, but some of the cons, you know, boundaries and respect. Boys may not respect some girls may not respect some boys. So, I'm neutral on the matter because there are pros and cons for each aspect.
And thank you very much, Jolie. I think you really provided an objective response as to your stance on the whole idea of if we should have separated schools versus mixed school. And I really appreciate you taking into account the whole idea of boundaries as well as that whole additional educational consideration, which is something that a lot of persons shy away from in highlighting when we look at the education system. So thank you so much for bringing that to our attention. Sophia, do you think that we should have all boys and all girls school, or is it good that mixed schools exist?
I don't really like mixed schools because, for example, in my school, the boys tend to mingle with the girls and be inappropriate, and for me, that's uncomfortable. So that is why I prefer like separated schools. Like,
Have you ever been to a separated school?
no.
Thank you. Lavia, what are your thoughts on separated versus mixed schools?
I like the school mix because to communicate proper. Like if a girl don't like to hang out with girls, she can be to go and hang out with the boys instead of hanging out with the girls and being alone.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't really like it because some boys are mean to girls.
Mm-hmm.
So
Thank you. And again, we have our panelists providing us with some real life examples and application of how the question really impacts them on a personal level. And we really thank each of you for sharing with us your experiences and really bringing your perspective to the table with all the questions that we've asked so far. So, for those of you who are now tuning in, you would have missed a lot. We have discussed politics, education, governance, tourism, school feeding, mixed schools, and the main topic that we're on tonight is too young to vote, but not too young to think. And our panelists have demonstrated across the board that while they may be considered young, they most definitely are thinking. And when it's time to vote, they're going to be very critical, analytical, and the country is going to be in even greater hands than it already is. So, gentle reminder to those now tuning in, remember to like, share, follow Tobago Civil Net. We are a non-partisan group of Tobago civil society organizations, and we are concerned citizens all combining our forces for the purpose of having collective input on Tobago's development. And we extend an invitation to all persons and organizations interested in lending their voices and support to these discussions. Please feel free to contact us at the Tobago Civil Net at gmail.com or at 4879722, or follow us. Ensure that you follow us on Facebook at the Tobago Civil Net. So, Lavia, do you think that adults listen and respect the opinions of young persons in discussions and decision making?
I think adults does and sometimes they does not
Mhm.
listen to us.
Thank you. Jolie, you were giving me some of Sophia's facial expressions and into your own. What are your thoughts on the issue?
Based on the society and the traditions that we have in Trinidad and Tobago, adults they tend to say that children are young. We are, but we still have a voice that we need to use, that we need to project. So my answer for this question would have to be no, because adults in Tobago especially, they would be like, you're young, you don't have to say anything, just sit in a corner, be quiet, be people talking, stay out of this. But that is not right, especially as young people are rising up today and we are going into modern times. Our voices need to be heard, because we may have certain things to say that would make our lives better, not just our lives, but everyone else's life better.
And thank you, Jolie. And we're going to come back to that point that you raised in terms of, our culture and our tradition kind of hindering us from moving forward to actually appreciating the contributions of young persons. And one of the questions I'm going to ask the panelists after this is how can we assist in ensuring that young persons have the opportunity to deal with that disconnect between adults and their opinions on different situations? Sophia, do you think that young people have their voices respected in discussions with adults?
Sometimes, because we will ask our parents or guardians, we want this. Well, if you want, like, for example, if I say I want this toy or I want this phone or this device, we do not need it. Like, things that we need are like clothes or like shoes or food and an education.
Okay, I see what you're saying, and this kind of goes back to what Lavia says in terms of it depends on what you're talking about. So the nature of the discussion kind of helps to see whether or not your opinion is weighted. And Coyote, what do you think?
Uh, I agree with Jolie. Am I right? Jolie is my answer is no. Some parents tend to say, "You, use a child. No, I can't be talking to no child. You can't be in adults conversation. Go and play some game or something. They won't
Mhm.
allow some children to have a voice or have a say in some opinions. So yes, my answer is no.
And Coyote, while we're still with you, how do you think we can take, or what steps do you think we could take to change this narrative?
Uh, can you repeat the question, please?
So, what can we do as young persons, as citizens, as adults to ensure that young people feel as though they are heard and more so see that they are heard in discussions across the board?
We can listen to them. We can tell
Mm-hmm,
them, I'm listening to you. You have a good point, and I
mm-hmm,
want to listen to you for what you have to say.
mm-hmm. Okay. And Coyote is really highlighting to us the importance of feedback when communicating and the importance as well of understanding and listening. Because a lot of the times when we have experiences with persons in different age groups, we don't necessarily have the opportunity for them to listen to us. They more so listen to respond and not to understand. Julie, I see you're very excited. So we're coming back to you now.
Um, can you kind of repeat the question quickly, please? It
What
slipped.
can we do to help young persons have their views respected from older persons when they're having discussions? Or how can older persons respect young persons' views when they are in discussion?
Okay, first of all, we can have more programs like these where young persons' voices are heard. And I was recently included in the Transforming Education, one of the consultations for students, and they were asking different questions and getting our views on different matters. So we should have more programs like that. And secondly, this answer may sound abrupt, but it may sound like I just threw it on the table, but we can break the tradition. And when I say that, I don't mean to be disrespectful in any kind of way or be discriminative. I mean to include other aspects that would help us feel included in society, especially as we are moving forward. Times are changing and we would not always be able to stick to the old thing where children be children and adults do all the decision making, because everything affects everybody. And we also should have more open discussions and include different people like teachers, the church, parents, and things, persons like that, persons in authority.
Thank you so much, Jolie. And we really see the whole idea, as she put across before, about tackling the influence of tradition and our culture in terms of how we have conversations across different age groups. Sophia, what are your thoughts?
I agree with Jolie, and I also think we should have like what I hosted first, Mike, because it's like something to get out your like ideas, and it embraces your confidence as well.
Thank you so much, Sophia and Lavia. How can we assist young persons in having their ideas respected in different spaces?
I think we should adults should listen to children and hear them out and hear them to say, then after say what they need to say.
Thank you, Lavia. And to the viewers looking on, you heard it from our panelists. They are ready to be engaged, they are ready to be included in the discussion. They have open minds, they have their knowledge and experience that will make them assets to the conversation at hand. So, Sophia, do you think that there are enough outdoor activities like swimming or running for students, children in Tobago?
No, because like I'm just home, and if I am bored, I read too much, I play too much, and I just want to go somewhere. It has no varieties for young people to like have fun, since like the
Mhm,
parks are closed
mhm.
like for young children. So I think we should have like more varieties and activities for children.
So, what would you recommend? Now, we're taking into consideration that we do have the pandemic, so a lot of the activities that we would have been able to enjoy, such as contact sports. I know we have some avid footballers on the panel, Lavia and Coyote. They are very involved in sports, and I feel for you. I was also a footballer in my time, not being able to go out and participate in sports. So let's put the pandemic aside for 1 second, just 1 second. What would you recommend to be included in terms of the outdoor activities that we have for young persons on the
For example, a rec center. By that I mean varieties. Like inside it has a gym, like
island?
kind of about the parents. A gym, a basketball center, a tennis court, and we could also have like a swimming center as well.
Okay. So
And
we
to
do
add
have
a rock
mhm,
climbing.
rock climbing. Okay. That's like outdoors, indoors. So we're bringing back the pandemic into our thinking because we just put it aside for 1 second. Remember to practice all COVID-19 safety regulations, even when thinking. But thank you so much, Sophia. And we do have some of those things available. I'm not so sure about rock climbing in Tobago. I'm not sure about you. I'm open to be corrected. Persons on the live, if you know of anyone doing indoor rock climbing, Sophia is interested in, diversifying her skill set a little bit. So feel free to drop the contact information so that she can share it with her parents. But I do understand, and we do have some of these facilities made available. However, they may not be widespread. So for some persons, they may have to travel far in order to access them. And we really need to see how we could bridge that divide in terms of accessibility of these outdoor activities for young persons across Tobago. Lavia, do you think that there are enough outdoor activities in Tobago for young
No, I don't think there are enough outdoor activities because during quarantine, children will get bored and we can't really go out to like play. So I don't find it have enough outdoor activities.
persons? So again, I'm asking you, just take quarantine and COVID out of your mind for like 1 second. What would you like to see included? What outdoor activities? So we have basketball, we have tennis, we have rock climbing. I wasn't expecting that, but I'm vibing with it. I'm vibing with it a little bit. What are your examples?
Skydiving,
All right. We having some thumbs up from Coyote, so we're gonna jump to Coyote. Do you think that there are enough outdoor activities in Tobago? Thank you, Lavia.
No, I do not think there's a lot. I shouldn't say a lot. I know there are some, but I don't
Mm-hmm.
think there are enough. I should say enough. Because in Trinidad, there's an aquatic center. I believe it's in Cuba,
Mm-hmm.
and we have none here in Tobago. In Trinidad, there's zoos. I know there's a zoo here in Tobago, but it's a private zoo. There's no public zoo here in Tobago. There's also a lot of public pools in Trinidad, and we can't find any here in Tobago. So I have to say no, there are not enough outdoor activities in Tobago.
Right, thank you. And I mean, I didn't even have to ask you to take the pandemic out of your mind for 1 minute because you included your examples during the discussion. And Jolie, we have arrived at you. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, for this matter, unfortunately, I would have to disagree with my colleagues because Tobago is a beautiful, wonderful island. We have beaches, we have a few community pools. We have a lot of things to do on this island. We have all the resources. We just have to utilize them and create our own activities. We have the rainforest. We can go exploring the rainforest. We can go bird watching. We can, go out on a boat ride. We can go to the beach. There are lots of things to do on this island of Tobago, so we have the resources, but we just need to utilize them.
Thank you very much, Julie. And I
I would
see
like
you're
to
tapping into, and Coyote would like to jump in. Sure, Coyote.
I would like to add what I said. I also like to say I am a scuba diver in training, and I really want for some people in Tobago to learn, not only in Tobago, I should say, and both in Tobago and Trinidad, to learn how to scuba dive. And also some facilities that I wish they had in Tobago are bicycling. Also some as a as can't remember the name, Lara, what's the name again? Lavia, sorry, Lavia said skydiving as well. I love skydiving. I wish I could have done it, but I love skydiving. So I don't think they're enough. As I said, I don't think there are enough outdoor activities in Tobago.
Okay, and thank you, Coyote, for coming back to add more to the discussion. So, to the entrepreneurs, to the business minds, to the contractors, the persons on the live who would view at a later time, the young persons would like skydiving facilities, rock climbing facilities. Am I missing anything? Sophia would like rock climbing. Am I missing anything? A rec center, yes, we need a rec center for the young person so that they could be more active and engaged indoors, outdoors, safely. But most importantly, Jolie has reminded us that we do have the resources in Tobago and we just need to ensure that we utilize them to the best of our ability. So pick up your nice little Tobago map and look for the excellent sites for bird watching. Oh yes, Coyote also encouraged us to pick up scuba diving. I have a friend that's a scuba diving instructor. I think like he's up there now. I mean, I can't swim, so I'm very reserved about it. But Coyote is motivating me to, put aside my fear of the ocean, well, my respect for it more so, and really get more engaged, as Jolie said, with the resources and the land space that Tobago offers us because we have a lot of opportunities. So we're going to wrap up. There's one more question that I have for each of you. Thank you so much for being an amazing panel. You all laughed at my jokes. I hope that they were actually funny and you all were not just laughing because. So, what is one thing moving forward that you can do to ensure that young persons are involved and engaged in what is happening in Tobago, even if they cannot vote? So I'm going to ask the question again. What is one thing that you can do moving forward from this panel discussion to ensure that you and other young persons like yourself can do to ensure that you're like engaged in what is happening, even if you cannot? So I'm giving you one pandemic second, and then I'm gonna start with Coyote. And like, if anybody has the Jeopardy theme song, it's gonna be playing right now. So Coyote, we are at you. And I'm putting you on the spot. But you got this, you've been excellent. So just let us know. What is one thing? It could be reading the papers more. It could be watching the news and making notes. It could be coming together in your class and having a discussion with your social studies teacher if you all have the extra time. It could be talking to your parents and trying to find ways to safely navigate the discussion about what is happening in the society so that as you grow, you can be more involved. Because a lot of you are involved in different clubs and organizations. So it could even be looking at different ways in which you are interested in, for example, the environment. So more discussions or activities about the environment, get innovative and creative with your ideas. So Coyote, we are at you.
That one thing is the news. If you don't have the news, you won't know what is going on in the country. If you know what's going on in the country, you know how to act on it. So to watch the news and take notes is what I would recommend.
Okay, thank you, Coyote. And we have one young person ensuring that we all know how important the news is. And I am so sorry, guys. I have you all missing some minutes of the news, but you all are going to catch up. I do apologize. So, Lavia, what is one thing that you can do to ensure that you are still engaged and active?
One thing I can do is help my neighbors, but social distance.
Thank you. And Lavia is really showing that whole idea that we spoke about in terms of community solidarity and coming together and working with the community to ensure that you are engaged. Sometimes the people in your community are able to give you different perspectives on issues that are happening. And your community is made up of a lot of different people. And when you take into account the different views, you're really able to see the bigger picture of how intersectional issues are. Word of the day, intersectional. Sophia, what is one thing that you can do?
Well, one thing that you can do is have like more sessions like these and
Mhm.
more opportunities.
Tobago Civil Net, I hope you are taking notes. The young persons want more sessions like these, putting you all on the spot. And Jolie, what is that one thing?
One thing I would do to help young persons voice be heard, it's a very broad aspect, but the
Mhm.
thing is to be a strong advocate for like programs like these. So I may affiliate myself with like organizations like these and also probably create a little club myself, police youth clubs and prisons youth clubs. They also do a lot of like groundwork and community work. And I will also be encouraging persons, like if they have family threads, they may be related to a secretary or somebody that is involved in politics. You can share your ideas and thoughts to them. Maybe they will take it into consideration and share with others. So the main thing I would do is mainly be a strong advocate and supporter for organizations like these and also encourage persons to do certain things like pray and share your ideas in whatever way you can.
Tobago Civil Net. I think we have the junior chamber of the organization. So let's see what 2021 has in store. We may have Jolie and Safia moderating panel discussions that I am on, putting me in the heat of the moment and asking me all the hard questions. So again, on behalf of the Tobago Civil Net, I would like to thank each of you for bringing your knowledge and expertise and your experience and your youth to the panel. As a young old person, I really appreciate having discussions like this with other young persons. I feel extra energized to be on a panel with young persons like this. And it really warms my heart to know that we have young persons who are ready and continuing in their different spaces to share their ideas, to advocate, to be a voice, to be active in various community and social spheres, and ensuring that if there are issues to be raised, that the young people have their voice heard and their opinions taken into consideration across the board. No, the Tobago Civil Net, again, is a non-partisan group of Tobago civil society organizations and concerned citizens, all combining forces for the purpose of having collective input on Tobago's development. The body includes representation from education, agriculture and the environment, youth development, arts and culture, tourism, and the business sector. So we are very diverse, we are very comprehensive, and we would have touched in different aspects of this throughout the night with our panel. Our mantra being Harambe, let's all pull together, and you would have seen that young persons from across the board came together to be a part of this panel, and we really appreciate again the wealth of knowledge and experience that our panelists shared with us tonight, where the topic was too young to vote, not too young to think. Gentle reminder that we are extending an invitation, and I see Jolie has already lined up herself a little membership card, and we welcome you with open arms, you and all other panelists, to share your ideas. Feel free to reach out and message me if you have any projects that you would like assistance to work on. I am always available for youth work, for mentorship. Feel free to contact me. Cindy and Andrews on Facebook. Yes, yes, yes. And I will make myself available to help you on your journey. We are again extending an invite to all persons and organizations interested in lending their voice to these discussions. Feel free to contact us, tobagocivilnet@gmail.com or 487-9722, and follow us on Facebook at Tobago Civilnet. And we also have this lovely little disclaimer. The opinions expressed by the moderator and panelists are not necessarily that of Tobago CivilNet nor its partners, but again, we do appreciate the variety and the diversity of the content and the wealth of knowledge shared by all our panelists. Remember to like, share, and follow Tobago CivilNet, and stay tuned for updates on our next webinar episode topic series coming to you on a night the 17th. So stay tuned for more details on that. So thank you again. We will, as you know, like when you're doing the news and the teleprompter is giving you the notice where it kind of coming slow. So tune in on the 17th, where we will be discussing Tobago autonomy. This is a very heated topic. And I know for sure, the panelist is going to bring the fire. For sure. And it's going to be 8 p.m. the 17th, December 17th. You don't want to miss it. Put it on your calendar. You never know when we're going to be seeing these young people coming back into the Tobago CivilNet. They've already stated their case that they are interested. They are ready to be called out. So for sure, smiles everyone. We're going to wrap and wave, smile and wave. Penguins of Madagascar, thank you again. And this has been a great series. Good night, everyone.